made them warm then.
They did.
You're live.
Well, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So good
I
to
was
be
just
here.
thinking that Christmas is coming
Yes,
in not so many days. And of course, we celebrate the birth of Christ,
absolutely.
which is a glorious
He's the reason
event.
for
But Romans 5:10 says that we're saved by Christ's death and we're saved by his life. So that connects his being born
Mm-hmm.
with his death.
Yep.
He was born to die. That's kind of a unbelievable thought, isn't it? Somebody was born to die. Their purpose was, you're going to have existence, but the purpose is that you're going to suffer and die.
Exactly.
So really, when we celebrate Christmas, it's good to think about that. The cradle leads us to the cross. And we're grateful people, aren't we?
Yes.
Okay, would somebody please read Ecclesiastes 12? I kind of like this chapter because for me there's a
You
bit of
identify.
humor in it. Pardon?
You identified with
I
it?
identify with
I do too.
it.
I'm with you.
There's some humor there, isn't there?
Remember your Creator in the days of your youth, before the days of trouble come, and the years approach when you will say, I find no pleasure in them. Before the sun and the light and the moon and the stars grow dark and the clouds return after the rain, when the keepers of the house tremble and the strong men stoop, when the grinders cease because they are few and those looking through the windows grow dim, when the doors to the street are closed and the sound of grinding fades, when people rise up at the sound of birds, but all their songs grow faint, when people are afraid of heights and of dangers in the streets, and when the almond tree blossoms and the grasshopper drags itself along and desire no longer is stirred, then people go to their eternal home and mourners go about the streets. Remember him before the silver cord is severed and the golden bowl is broken, before the pitcher is shattered at the spring and the wheel broken at the well, and the dust returns to the ground that it came from, and the spirit returns to God who gave it. Meaningless, meaningless, says the teacher. Everything is meaningless. The conclusion of the matter. Not only was the teacher wise, but he also imparted knowledge to the people. He pondered and searched out and set in order many proverbs. The teacher searched to find just the right words, and what he wrote was upright and true. The words of the wise are like goads, their collected sayings like firmly embedded nails given by one shepherd. Be warned, my son, of anything in addition to them. Of making many books there is no end, and much study wearies the body. Now all has been heard. Here is the conclusion of the matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the duty of all mankind. For God will bring every deed into judgment, including every hidden thing, whether it is good or evil.
I love that.
Thank you. Heavenly Father, I personally thank you for the book of Ecclesiastes. Thank you that your man Solomon was transparent. We need that. He's talking about reality. We need to hear that. But he's leading us to the truth that yes, earth life has its challenges, but it's simply preparation for the bigger event. To be able to see you in person, to become like you, and enjoy you forever. Open our hearts to this last chapter so we can understand what this is all about. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Have you enjoyed Ecclesiastes?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So much.
Do you find it unique that Solomon is so transparent? How many people do you know that would say, look, I wasted my whole time on 1,000 women? Or Oh, I partied every night of the year. How many people who profess Christ would, even, I mean, if they did it, would tell you about it? It's not easy to be transparent. It's really difficult.
I think the older we get, the more transparent we become.
Exactly.
That's an
I think-
interesting
yeah, I
thought.
think
Why
that-
is that?
In his wisdom, I think he was able to be that way.
Yes.
And to have more self-reflection and be able to be transparent
I think
from
that's
all
true.
that he's learned.
Why would aging bring about greater transparency? What do you think's happening?
Because all is
We're preparing.
vanity.
Yeah, we're
All
preparing
is
for,
vanity.
we're preparing to leave. We're,
Yeah.
we're focused more on, we're more heaven bound than earth bound.
So really, he's preparing us for heaven.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Well, I find it delightful to be in the presence of somebody who's transparent. Most of the people we meet, we have pleasant conversation. There's certain things you say and certain things you shouldn't say. But how many of us have friends where we can really talk honestly about what's going on in our life? Now, I'm not asking you to answer that question, but
I think we are.
my dad told me when I was in junior high, he said, Bruce, if you die with one good friend, you're ahead of the troops.
Mhm.
And I knew what he was saying and by virtue of the words, but I really didn't understand that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that time.
But actually, to find somebody who's honest with you, is free to be honest, is very difficult,
Mhm.
especially somebody who's honest enough to confess they're not the person that they've really tried to be.
Mhm.
We're all wearing masks, aren't we?
Mhm.
We're trying to be somebody. Well, I think Solomon is ripping the masks away and saying, look, I've been there, done that, and it doesn't pay off.
Mhm.
But here's the truth of the matter. So here we are at the end of the book, and he's going to share with us his insights on what it all really meant. Okay, so why is there earth life? Now, we've looked at this before, but I think it's worth looking at. Because really what Solomon is talking about, is he talking about Eden, now, or eternity? These are two bookends, but which of the three is he really focused on?
Eternity,
Eternity, yeah.
I think.
Well, he's leading us that, but what is he focused on?
Now.
Now. He's saying, look, we know the story about Eden. This was happy fellowship between the father and his two children. This is the way God intended things to be. This is the way they're going to end up being. There's going to be this giant kingdom of believers who are in one family, very much in love with the father of the family and each other. This is good. This is better. But why is there now? Because now everything's divided up. Families are divided up. There's hardly any unity. The greatest unity it appears there is amongst evil people. Thieves have a code of conduct. You never break it. They're more focused on unity than we are. Isn't that interesting? Okay, so really, he's asking us to walk with him through his now experience, and it appears to be because he wants us to be prepared for eternity. We're really indebted to this guy, I think. Well, of course, all the people that are given to us in the scriptures are doing the same thing. Okay, so one of the things, just by way of introduction, one of the things I think he's trying to say is earth life is filled with distractions. In fact, most everything we see, feel, sense, and so on is simply a distraction. If that were true, what are we being distracted from by virtue of the standards of the culture and earth life?
From God.
From God. So now is a time when everything is filled with distractions. Now, Solomon is not against the distraction. He's not saying it's wrong to be distracted by having a good meal. I like, I can't think of the word, garlic grits with lots of butter. I really like them. I can really get distracted, whatever's going on with the thought of garlic grits. There's nothing wrong with garlic grits, except nobody wants to be around me after I've eaten them. But here's the whole point. He's not saying that earth life is bad, that we should kill ourselves and get out of here. He's not saying that at all. But he is saying that now is a distraction. It's filled with distractions. But he encourages us to live a simple life where we enjoy our wine, we enjoy our meals, we go to our labors with joy in our heart. We live simply. But the question is, where are our eyes? So he's telling us where his eyes went. He's the son of a great king, David. He's a king who's great in the eyes of all the surrounding nations. He's wealthy beyond imagination. He's powerful. He's got all this stuff. He's got time. He's got his eyes on building things. He's got his eyes on women. He's got his eyes on the pleasures. There's probably no pleasure that he did not enter into. He doesn't tell us all the things he did. But in the end, he says, I've had my eyes on all this. It's all deception. It doesn't deliver. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
So we look back, how many years do we get? I think the psalmist says 70, or possibly 80. That's a short period of time in comparison with eternity. So I think what he's saying is, this is really short. This lasts forever. Where should our eyes be now?
Yeah.
So he's saying it's not wrong to enjoy earth life because God gave it to us to enjoy. But we better enjoy it only with our eyes on eternity. Or, as we're told in the scriptures, to go back to the old paths. That's okay. But really, living this life now should be a life of simplicity. Don't get misled by all the distractions that you can have fame, fortune, and anything you want, and you'll be happy, because it doesn't deliver. It makes promises that are lies, deceptions. So he's trying to get us oriented in a disoriented lifestyle, a setting where disorientation is the rule. Okay, so the wisdom. We were made to be satisfied and complete. The distraction is, you're not satisfied, hey, check this out. So actually that aligns with why we were made. We were made to be satisfied. Everybody says, yeah, we need to be satisfied. And the world says, oh, well, we're here to help you. What would you like? By the way, you can have anything you want, because we don't put stringent rules on a lot of stuff. So the problem is, how do I understand where I am now in light of eternity? Does the way I think now affect eternity? What if I follow my feelings and jump into the distractions of earth life? Will it have any influence on how I live in eternity? So if we put all this together, then what is now in God's mind?
A dot.
Okay, time-wise is a dot, but what is it in terms of essence?
The preparation for eternity.
The preparation for eternity. Okay, but we get sort of distracted. Do we often think of eternity?
Not till we're old. It is.
That's
Never
true.
all to slow down.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
And I think that's what he's trying to say here in this chapter. We really don't think about it until we get older. But that was good, and it ended up here. By the way, who made that? Sue, thank you. That really was good. If you don't mind that when I'm done, I may go back and help.
It's
you.
yours. It's yours. We just all shared yours.
Okay, so lesson number 1, let's say it together. Distractions do not deliver
Distractions do not deliver
because they can't.
because they can't.
So I think that's really what he's trying to say.
Mhm.
He's saying, look, you got now, you got to make the best use of now time. But it's filled with distractions. They don't deliver. They're all deceptions that the culture gives to you. Just do what? You got to go through it, but what? Keep your eye on eternity. Okay, but here's the problem, and Solomon doesn't really go into it, but the problem is we don't know much about eternity. I mean, God's told us everything we need to know, but we'd like to have more.
Yes. That's why we're doing the book of Revelation.
That's why we're doing the book of Revelation.
What more?
But if our eye is on eternity, it's not just eternity as a time period, it's eternity personalized. Our eye is to be on God. And the more we think about Him, the more we meditate on the Word, the more we are aware of His presence and thank Him for it, the more we seek to do the things He's asked us to do, the more the craziness of this kind of fades into the background. But it all has to do with our perspective. Okay, so we're to enjoy the simplicity of life here on earth. Now, one of the things is God doesn't force anybody to do anything. Now, He uses people like Cyrus, who wasn't a believer, and Cyrus obeyed Him. That's kind of amazing. But He doesn't force anybody to go to heaven. He doesn't grab some guy by the neck and say, you're going to heaven whether you want to or not. And He doesn't grab some guy and say, you're going to hell because I'm going to throw you in there. So if somebody goes to heaven or hell and He doesn't force either, then how do they get to one or the other place?
Their choice.
By choice. Okay, so distractions, many. If my end is going to be determined by my choice, then how do I think about now? I think this is what he's trying to get at. He's saying, under the sun, now. Under the sun is real. You experience it, you feel it. There are sometimes good feelings, other times there's pain and suffering. But you better understand what now is so you don't get fooled and miss. And I really believe that this is a cool word for eternity. This is reality. Oh, this is real. The distractions are real. Our feelings, our pain, our joy, and so on, they're real. But this is all a distraction. It's deceptive. This is where reality is going to hove into view. Here, truth reigns. But, doggone it, we have to go through this time. By the way, what's the origin of now? We know what the origin of Eden was. We You know what the origin of eternity is? What's the origin of now?
Adam and Eve's disobedience.
That's the effect, but what's the origin? Who's in charge of what I think?
Oh, okay, who's in charge? Satan.
Satan is now.
Yeah, but
He
he's,
wasn't created.
he's an underling. Who's in charge of it?
God
Who put it
said-
together?
God's
Who
in
gave
charge-
it to us?
God's in charge of all of it.
God gave us now.
Yeah.
With all the distractions. And it's all righteous on his part.
Yeah.
So why would he give us distractions that lie to us, that don't deliver, when he knows he wants us to be with him here?
He wants us to choose.
Pardon?
He wants us to choose.
He wants us to choose. He made us so we choose.
He didn't make us robots.
We're not to be robots. AI wasn't in his mind at that time. I mean, it was. He knows all about that stuff. He's the author of it.
Bruce, I was thinking about now is like a fog. And there is truth and there is reality there. You just have to discern it. You just have to see through the fog and pick out what's true and what reality is, what's holy, what's righteous, all those things. You have to look through the fog to find it.
Yeah,
But it's there. It's just,
There is
you
truth.
gotta find it.
you're right.
And in eternity, it's just gonna be there. There won't be the fog.
Clear.
The
No
fog
fog.
will be gone.
That's
Good
a
analogy.
that's a really interesting way to look at that. Things get foggy. So how do we see in a fog? I mean, we all experience it. Like here, when I go up to the gym early in the morning, there's a fog down there in that valley,
Yeah.
and it's hard to see. You have to be careful when you're driving. How do you see through the fog?
Bright lights.
You look for lights.
Yeah.
No, you do.
Yeah.
You want to make sure you can see the backup lights or the tail lights or any kind of light on the car so you don't get too close. So we look for light. Well, that expresses the foggy idea because foggy is dark. So while we're going through now, our focus is still on God and who is the
The
light?
light.
Jesus.
That's an interesting analogy.
Yeah. That's good, the foggy thing.
It's a fog.
Well, I always feel like I'm in a fog. Okay, so what am I supposed to see here?
Fog isn't just blackness, it's cloudiness.
Yeah.
It's, you can kind of see, but you can't.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
yeah, I mean, that really goes along with a lot of stuff in life.
Absolutely. And it helps to explain distractions. Well, what if I cheat a little bit on my income tax? Come on, everybody does it.
Nobody will see in the fog.
Nobody does. So we get tricked into thinking we can fog it.
You can fog it.
All right, so choice is huge. Now, one thing we want to keep our mind on is that eternity is where we become complete. Our problem is right here, we're truly incomplete. How are we incomplete? What do we not have here that we're going to have there?
A forever body,
In both cases, we're going to have a body, but
a forever body. We don't
okay,
have
so it's a
now.
special body.
Yeah.
We're going to get a special body, never gets sick, never dies. What else?
A complete relationship with God.
Full relationship, nothing separating, no division, no disunity, no self. Right now, I'm totally incomplete because I'm stuck with a self nature. Okay, so when we're looking at our friend Solomon, he doesn't talk about all these things as we've discussed them here necessarily, but this is what he's talking about. And he's encouraging us to get it right, get our eyes on the right thing. So then, what is the purpose of God for our earth life? He wants us to choose in the middle of gigantic, touchy-feely distractions, Him. That's the only purpose. And we said, no, whoa. We're supposed to go to church. Yeah, that's part of it. But what he's talking about, he wants us to choose to honor him, to fear him, reverence him, to worship him. He wants us to get close to him. He wants us to let him get close to us. So yeah, but we got to have jobs. Yeah. But what if the job becomes a distraction? Yeah, but we want this, I want that. Well, okay. But what if those things distract you from manifesting the choice to be as complete as possible here so we enjoy the fullness of it there? Somebody said something.
The distraction is actually a choice for us.
If we go for it.
Well, let's say we have a job, or we have a family. We have to, take care of both. And it is a distraction in that we can't put our 100% focus on God because there are physical things that we have to do.
Okay,
But
absolutely.
we can choose to keep distraction of those things at a minimum, and our focus is on God, and these are the things God has given us to do with our life.
Absolutely.
And we can honor him in those distractions
Yes.
by the way we work, by the way we relate with our families, whatever the distraction is, we can honor him in that.
So that all this in now leading to eternity is to do what Paul said. In everything, do what?
Give thanks.
Give thanks and
Glorify God.
glorify God. But the distractions say, yeah, but you got some skin in this game. You get a little pleasure. You've been working hard. Come on, you can party. Yeah, I know you get drunk and stuff like that, but that's okay. Come on, everybody does that. It just goes on and on. But here, our real purpose is to glorify Him. The more we enter this, the more we change into this side of eternity. So do we want to go home with a little bit of change, a little bit of confirmation to Christ, or a whole bunch? That's the question we got to ask ourselves. Because it's possible, according to 1 Corinthians 3, for somebody to be saved and just get in by the skin of their teeth. Or do we want to go in and have our gold, silver, and precious stones go through the fire and be refined and not burned up? Or are we going to go in as wood, hay, and stubble, and everything we ever did for Christ goes through the fire and it's burned up? This is, to me, such a serious matter. And the distractions are all focused on externals. I want to feel good. I'd like to feel rested. I'm tired of going to work every day. I got to take care of the kids all the time. When do I get some time off? I mean, it just goes on and on. So in the midst of this, it looks like we're being prepared to really see this manifested. That's going to happen here. but here's where I can choose to enter in now. Okay, it's awful foggy down here. Lots of distractions, but he gets glorified when I make that choice. Okay, any thoughts on this before we move into this chapter?
Well, Bruce, I was thinking that your work and your family are not really distractions. They're what God gives you to do while you're here in this now. You know, because the family is created by God. I mean, there's a purpose in that. And work is something he gave us too that's positive, that's good. And I was thinking that the distractions are, I'm working so that I can have this and that and that and that. That's a distraction. But the work itself is a gift from God. You know, that taking care of your family, I mean, you know, providing and protecting is something that men have in them. God's put it there.
That's true.
And that was what we have to do now. But there are distractions that, well, for your kids, for your family, they want to be the best of this or best of that, and you want to put them in this and you want to get them in that and all that. Those are distractions. Mm-hmm. But really taking care of your family and raising them to glorify God, that's not a distraction. That's part of what God gives us to do, which leads me to think that he's got a job for us in heaven too. When we get into eternity, he's got something for us to do there too, because he didn't leave us here without something to do.
Exactly.
I don't know.
I think you're right.
I think you're right too.
However, families can afford us opportunities to get distracted.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So can jobs.
Yes.
Well, I'm thinking of a person that Jan had many conversations with, where Jan asked this woman, said, "Hey, we haven't seen the kids in Sunday school." I know. Well, let's see, we got football in the fall, we got basketball in the winter, and we're doing soccer, and then during the summer, we're doing baseball. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, it turns out most of the competitions, the big ones, are on Sunday, so right. Yeah, we can't be there. So if we ask that person, why are you doing this? Why would you clutter your kid's life with 4 different sports, if that's the case? Mm-hmm. Why would you do that? What kind of answer do you think you'd get?
They would say, the kids love it.
But underneath it is, what if the kid got a scholarship by being a good athlete? Mm-hmm. Here's the whole point. Our families can be distractions if we don't see through the eyes of Christ and make a choice to see things, not only to see God by faith, but to see the way he thinks.
Right.
In other words, everything can be corrupted.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So we just have to be watchful. But here's something that we got to keep in mind. Ain't nobody doing it perfectly. Only one person did it perfectly.
Right.
I may have mentioned this before. I remember listening to a tape by R.C. Sproul, and he was talking about sin. And he mentioned he was preaching in a church somewhere, and afterward he'd been preaching on sin. And a lady came up and said, "R.C., I really appreciated your insights. I never thought how sinful we are." And she said, "By the way, how many times do believers sin during the course of a day?" Is it like 5 or 10 times? And Sproul smiled. He said he smiled. And his answer was, with a smile on his face, about 99% of the time. Mm-hmm. And he wasn't really saying that. He doesn't know how often people sin. Mm-hmm. He was just trying to make a point, and it was exaggerated. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, he said, "Dear lady, what do you know about Leviticus 1 through 5? And she said, "Well, I guess I know some stuff." And he said, "Well, check out chapter 4 and 5. The sin offering and the trespass offering. Those offerings covered what? Unintentional sins, sins of ignorance. There's no offering in the liturgy of ancient Israel that covered your deliberate sins. Only the mercy of God. But most of the offerings, according to the scriptures, for things you don't even know about. So most of our days is probably filled with sin. But God knows that. And what he's saying is in Psalm 37:6, I will bring forth your righteousness as the noonday sun. We're not going to do it perfectly. We're not going to keep our focus on glorifying God. We're not going to be seeking to be complete. We may not think much about eternity, and we may be foggy most of the time, and we're kind of distracted, and God says, I understand. I got you covered. The cross and my resurrection are the basis upon which I accept you. You're not going to do it perfectly, but get organized in your mind. Get focused on making choices in this life now that put your attention on me, my purposes, and my love for you. So we may screw up, but he's got us covered. But it's better to mature into, I'd rather do it your way, Lord. We all want to, but it's really hard because we've got this fallen self nature. Okay, so let's look. We're in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12. So I think Solomon is saying, look, you only got one time to go through this life. You better do it right. And he focuses on something I think is interesting. Get started when you're young. Look at Lamentations chapter 3. Gosh, it's hard if you don't have wet fingers with this.
Jeremiah is very long. Lamentations 3. Did you say 3?
Yeah, chapter 3, verse 27. Somebody got it?
It is good for a man to bear the yoke in his youth.
What do you think is being said here?
Be responsible when you're young.
Start when you're young. But why does he use the word yoke? He's talking about what you put on oxen.
Like a burden?
It is a burden. But what is the purpose of a yoke for the oxen?
Keep them going in the right direction.
The guy with the whip is got both of them. These two oxen have to work together in unity to get the plowing job done.
Right.
So the yoke then is the tool that the guy that owns the oxen uses to keep them on the straight and narrow path. So using that as a metaphor, what do you think he's saying here? Well,
exactly.
Be responsible when you're young.
Be responsible when you're young.
Go in the direction God wants you to when you're young.
Start submitting your will to his. But let's think of what Jesus said about it in Matthew chapter 11. Come unto me, all you that are
Labor.
heavy laden. What was it?
I will give you rest.
Take my
Yoke on you.
Yeah.
So then, now,
Of me.
what yoke was on Jesus? The yoke constrains
The cross.
the cross. That was always in his mind. He's moving toward the cross. He can't veer to the left, he can't veer to the right. Because if he does anything that comes from his own self-will, he blew it for us. Jesus said, I didn't come to do my own will. I came to do the will of my Father who sent me. But think of that yoke. Can you picture Jesus with a yoke around his neck? He's on his hands and knees, and he's got this wooden yoke. And he's saying to Bruce, or anyone, hey, yoke. And he's saying to Bruce, or anyone, hey, come on down here. Stick your head in the yoke. This is where action takes place. This is reality, my friend. We're living now. Stick your head in the yoke. You're not going to be distracted. Join me. So I think, well, I don't like getting down on my hands and knees. Oh, you don't like humility. Well, it's not natural to me. Come on anyway. It's your choice. Reality starts here. Stick your head in the yoke. Because when you do, a number of things are going to happen. Number one, you and I are going to be shoulder to shoulder. That's pretty close. The other thing is I can just turn a little bit and I can look right into your eyes. You can turn a little bit and look right into my eyes. This is happy fellowship. Not only that, but who do you think's doing the power dragging on this thing? You or me?
Jesus.
You're right, Lord. You're the one that's doing all the work. I get to enjoy the fellowship. Not only that, but you're keeping me on the straight and narrow. So Solomon, in his mind, is saying, well, I got this kid, Rehoboam. I want him to stick his head in the yoke. Did Rehoboam do a very good job? No. But Solomon's heart, just like David's heart for his kids, was I want my kids to grow up and walk the straight and narrow, the path of righteousness, to have their eyes on God and so on. Do his will, obey. They both wanted that. In fact, David was the worst father in the Bible. He was really a bad father. Well, I'm going to guess with 1,000 women and all this kind of stuff that Solomon was into.
Yeah, he wasn't so
He didn't have time for Rehoboam.
He didn't even know how many kids he had.
That's probably right.
That's why Rehoboam listened to his peers
Advisors.
instead of the elders.
That's right. So Rehoboam didn't have his head in the yoke. But Solomon is encouraging young men to stick your head in the yoke. So start young. So all of us have adult kids, but who can our eyes be on? Not much we can do for our adult kids, but who can we think about?
Grandchildren.
Grandkids. What if we could influence them? I'm wondering, because it says in the scriptures, talks about God's mercies being extended to your children and your children's children. Is that your children and children's children is mentioned several times in the Psalms. I wonder if he's saying, look, when you get old, you've done a good job with your own children, but now grandma and grandpa can really invest some time in these kids. And we say, yeah, but I'm too old. And but we can. We have limits. But I think little kids really are attracted to grandma and grandpa.
Yeah.
Do you sense that?
Because grandma and grandpa give them goodies.
And play with them.
Play with them, absolutely. So I can't get down on the floor and do all that kind of stuff, but they'll come to me in my chair with a book. And I've read one, Owl Babies, 275 times.
At least.
But they love it. Okay, so let's just look real quick at this list of descriptive things that are going to happen. Did you think it was kind of humorous?
Yes.
I thought it was really humorous, but it's very descriptive.
It's describing me.
I'm backing up to verse 1. But I thought it was interesting that he is encouraging readers that are young to remember who's in charge of them, remember your creator in the days of your, before the days of trouble come. In other words, trouble is going to come. It's not optional. It will come, and the years approach. In other words, you are going to get old, you are going to have trouble. And so then he goes on to describe things, but he's saying if you're not connected with God in a significant way in your youth, probably when you get old, you're going to be not thinking about him.
Right.
You'll be thinking about the troubles rather than the one that can help you.
Absolutely. So there's both the responsibility of the parents and the grandparents, but there's the privilege of the parents and grandparents. What if we died tomorrow? Should we go on to be with Christ? And one of our grandkids, 60 years later, passes on, and we're up in heaven enjoying Christ. All of a sudden, that's my grandson. Hey, come over here. And we hug him, and we find out that he was tortured for Christ for 30 years. And he never caved in. And in prison, he won thousands of people to Christ. Is the investment in children and grandchildren a good investment?
Yes.
Especially in eternity. But in one sense, even more in time, because anybody that really commits to Christ experiences joy you can't get any other way than being in his presence. In other words, God, I think Solomon's not using this language, but I think what he's trying to say is, look, foggy down here, but there's reality, there's light. You don't have to walk around in the fog and darkness. Check in with God, make that a habit, because there's a payoff, and it's big. It's your joy, which you can't find anyplace else but being one with him. And the fact that whatever you've done for my glory, he would say, lasts for eternity. Do you think that there's going to be a difference between people in eternity? We're all going to be one, no divisions. But are some going to be honored more than others?
Yes, but it doesn't make any difference because we give all the honor back to Jesus.
That's excellent.
What did you say, Jan?
I said it doesn't matter if some are honored more, they have more crowns, because it all goes back to Jesus. Yes.
Absolutely. So the joy comes from being able to cast crowns. But James and John's mother said, hey, Lord, I'd kind of like my two sons to sit on the right hand and the left hand by your throne there. Yeah, that's can you pull that off for me? And Jesus said, well, I'm not in charge of that. The Father is. But he didn't say there's no seat on the right and the left side. He didn't say, well, we don't do that in heaven. He affirmed by silence that there are going to be some people that are really close to him in heaven. Does it make a difference what we do here?
I think I'll just be happy to be there. I don't think I'll think about, who has this or who has that, or I think that'll pass away.
I do too.
I believe you're right. But is there a difference?
To be thinking and compare.
Is there a difference between standing in heaven with nothing in your hand and the guy that's standing in eternity and he has 5 crowns on his head and he casts them at Christ's feet? He said, Lord, none of that stuff would ever gotten done if you hadn't done it through me. You deserve the credit. There is a sense where it's not good to say, I want more crowns than that guy's got. That's stupid. But there is a sense, I think, that the pleasure, one of the greatest pleasures we have, is to honor God. We don't sense it down here because we're all distracted. We got a sin nature that doesn't like Him. But if we can see through godly eyes of faith what He's up to, then there's a rich reward, a rich payoff, interest on our investment. We don't want to lose track of that. Now, some people say, well, we're not supposed to be, we shouldn't have our eyes on the rewards. Well, if you want to have more rewards than somebody else, you're right. But if you're doing it for Christ's sake, my goodness.
Yeah.
He delights in that.
Right.
And He's going to reward those who have really sacrificed themselves by faith and obedience with special treatment in heaven. Now, we don't know much about that, do we? So we can't say a lot. So which of these different descriptors of what happens as we age kind of grabbed you? Maybe you thought it was funny, or were any of those?
I think when I reach 77, I will appreciate them. Right now, I didn't identify with any of them.
Yeah, well, I'm already there. And have been
My
since
teeth
February.
still work, my hearing still works.
But you got back problems.
It didn't mention that.
Yes, it did.
Everybody's got something.
Don't we though?
Well, if we don't have it at this moment, if we live much
We
longer,
will.
count on it.
That's why I say 77 when I get there.
That was my bad year. 77.
Don't say that.
I'm looking
Janet,
towards,
I got 77
I'm
coming
looking
up.
towards 78.
Well, here's one. I think that older people, the terror of the way irrational fears creep in. We do become irrational, and we do fear things that we didn't even think about when we were younger.
Like locking doors,
Pardon?
like locking doors.
Locking doors. Yeah. So I don't know. I really like it. I think it speaks loudly. So what is in other words, as we look at the list, what is the nature of time now in an essential sort of way? Time now is involved with what?
Taking care of yourself,
Because there is
weakness.
death,
Oh, yeah.
sickness,
Yeah.
weakness. Everything's rotting down. Now, this is interesting because predominant ideologies that come from socialists and politicians, elitists, academics, and so on is, we are very progressive. Look what man has done. Just put it on paper and you can see we're making tremendous strides to reach that point where man can function without government. Well, thank you, Mr. Marx. We really appreciate that comment. But it's a
Function without
lie.
God.
Everything in the culture is all about man's ability to control and to bring about all the things that our heart wants. I'm sorry, every one of those is a distraction because they're all deceptions.
But don't you think they're also functionings to become God? I mean, we're trying to do everything as men and women, mankind, so that we don't need God anymore. We can do it all. I mean, people don't stop and think that originally everything that they have, even if it's the smallest atom that then creates whatever, came from God. But they are just constantly creating, and I mean, look at AI and look at, everything. Who needs God when we've got all of this stuff now?
Well, Adam accepted the lie, eat the fruit of that tree, and you
Yep.
will become like God.
Exactly. We're
Well,
still
we're
doing the
his
same
kids,
thing.
so we got the same DNA.
Yes,
so to
we
speak,
do.
metaphorically. Okay, So, frankly, I get a kick out of these, but the other thing is they are so descriptive. Verse 3, in the day when the keepers of the house tremble and the strong men are bent. There's the back and the legs. Now, you can interpret any way you want. Different people have different interpretations of that. But the whole point is he's trying to be realistic with this. But he's saying, look, this is going to happen, but this has no effect on this. We can end up in a wheelchair, but it has no effect on this. If we understand we're living in a deceptive world, it's foggy. We struggle to find truth and reality. We struggle to stay in the light of Christ. And we're incomplete. But we're moving towards something entirely different. True reality, true truth, true completeness. Keep your eye on the Lord. Okay, so the last part of the chapter is really good, and I just want to focus on one thing. What's the conclusion of the matter? He has two things that he says to us in conclusion. At first, I thought they were weak. If I was writing it, I would have said something different. But I don't think so. I think he's right on target. Verse 13. The end of the matter, all has been heard. Fear God. Keep his commandments. For this is the whole duty of man. For God will bring every deed into judgment with every secret thing, whether good or evil. So the word judgment here just means that the judge is going to rule on what we've done with our life. Rewards for the righteous, destruction for those that turned away from God. But what are the two things he says we need to do as the conclusion of the matter?
Fear and obey God.
Okay, fear God. So what does that mean, fear God? Everybody uses the expression, but what does it really mean? Are we supposed to tremble if we're a believer in
Be
his
in
presence?
awe of him.
Pardon?
Be in awe of him.
Be in awe of him. What else?
Respect.
Deep, deep felt respect for him. What else?
Well, when you're afraid of something, it takes your whole focus. If I'm afraid of something, I can't think of anything else but what I'm afraid of.
Right.
So if you fear God, that's got to be
Total
included
focus.
in that.
I like that thought.
I do too.
Even though we're
Focus.
no true believer, nobody who's come to the cross and accepted the work of the resurrection, and is truly repentant and has accepted Christ as Lord of their life, is going to be fearful of him.
No.
On the other hand, there is a sense in which we should fear the Almighty. I mean, he's different than we are.
Mhm.
He's got the power to change things.
Mhm.
We can't even describe how different and wonderful he is.
Exactly.
But I think the writers, in using that expression, are trying to make the comments that you are.
Mhm.
And it's reverential respect for him. So Solomon's saying, hey, you're living here. This is what you should be doing. Glorifying God. Fear him, the fear of the Lord. Make the choice, even though you're getting distracted all the time. Get out of the fog, step into the light, and you'll see why you want to identify with him and why he deserves to get the credit. I was talking to a guy one time and I said, we're supposed to live our life giving credit to God. We're supposed to glorify him. And he said, well, it sounds to me like God's kind of selfish.
Yeah. I heard that too.
Why is he doing that? Why does he want all the credit?
Right.
And I didn't really know what to say. And I had to think about that until I could answer it. But I said, here's what I think. God has to give credit only to excellence. He cannot give credit to something that doesn't meet the standard. Who's the only one that ever did anything that met the standard? God. He has to give credit to himself. He's the standard giver. He's the standard liver. He's the standard that we're supposed to be living by. And if we do, glory comes forth. But who should it go to? It should go to the one who's above everything. He's even above the standard. He's the one that gave the standard. Who else would we give credit to? It's almost just common sense. But he's not selfish. He's not saying, me. It's not that at all. He's just saying the reality is me. I'm the one that's done all this. I'm the one that set the standard. My character aligns with that standard. I never vary from it. I am consistently righteous and holy. Okay, so fear the Lord. Have you ever been in a setting where somebody used the Lord's name in vain?
Yes.
You say, no,
Yes.
you're not alive.
I had just started working as a teacher in an inner city junior high school. And I was in the men's lounge, men teachers lounge. There was a urinal in there. It was very private and so on. But anyway, I was sitting there reading something, and this teacher walks in and he uses the urinal. And he used Christ's name in vain. And I wasn't really very mature in my Christianity. I thought, that didn't sound right. And there was nobody else in the room, so I said, excuse me, I heard you mention Christ's name. Were you calling out to him? He said, what are you talking about? I said, well, you just used his name. I thought you were calling out to him. The reason I'm asking is because people who call out to him, they really get blessed. You weren't calling out to him, and he went into a tirade with other words worse than the ones he'd been using, and then stormed out. But I thought, if we use his name in vain, futilely, with vanity, with no meaning and no truth, we just cut ourselves off from eternity. We just made a choice. I don't want anything to do with him. And God says, hey, so when you die, I don't want you to be encumbered by me. You've chosen a path where you don't have to deal with me. It's called hell. So.
Good for you, Bruce, for speaking up.
I don't know if I would have said anything if there were other people in the room.
Yeah,
I don't know.
but good for you. That's great.
When my family members do it, I just look at them and say, he's my Lord and Savior.
Oh, so
That's a
good for
good
you.
testimony.
That's
It's a
just
good
great.
That's a good response.
Yeah.
And then I just move on and they just go, and they move on. They don't say it again, generally.
Yeah, generally people, yeah.
And become aware of it, especially my kids who I think are saved, but have gone astray and have started to use this name in vain. It's like, I just remind them that.
You know what's interesting about that is that if you have a standard that you don't do that, they respond to that, and they don't do it. But if you're always swearing, probably there's something about glorifying God. I guess you're just glorifying God in who you are, and it has power.
It does.
It does.
Because what you're just saying that's powerful, Sue, with your family.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so fear God, keep his commandments. Now, this is a place where people in the New Testament get hung up. Am I supposed to be keeping God's commandments?
Yes.
I think so.
How would you rephrase that statement? I should be in the business of keeping his commandments, to be a little more definitive.
Well, Jesus said, if you love me,
keep my commandments.
Indeed, but how could you rephrase it so it's more accurate? Because Paul, especially in Romans and Galatians, is saying no, no, no to keeping the law. Do not go that route.
oh, well, you're defining commandments in a more narrow way.
The 10
If you're saying and keep his commandments, if you're taking that as just the 10 commandments, we don't, we're still all the 10 commandments except like the Sabbath, we're still supposed that they're repeated in a little different way in the New Testament.
I'm being snarky, so here's what I was driving at.
Get snarky.
Here's what I was
You
driving
get
at.
snarky, I'll call you on it.
What if we said, Lord, I know what your commandments are. You're honored when I keep them, but I can't. So I thank you that you gave me the Spirit who gives me grace to follow the path you've laid for me. This is the thing that Paul's talking about. The Galatians were subject to Jewish people who claimed they'd come to Christ, but when they came to Galatia, they said, you guys aren't keeping the law. You can't be saved. Yeah, you got to come to the cross and the resurrection. It's really important, but you need to start keeping the law. Are you circumcised? No, we don't circumcise each other. Well, there you go. You're not keeping the law. So really, this business about keeping commandments needs to be correctly defined. I met with a guy not long ago, and he asked me if I would go with him to a person's home, and they're Christians, but they're really into the law, and he was confused about what they were saying. So we went to this beautiful, luxurious home. I've never been in a house like that. A man and his wife, and very sincere, and they said they listened to Mr. So-and-so on the radio. He said, you should keep the law. So they keep the law. They worship on the Sabbath on Saturday. They don't eat pork. And they're doing everything the Old Testament says you should do. And but I challenged him and I said, what's Paul say about that? So we got a discussion on it. Does God want us to keep the 10 Commandments? Does he want us to keep the ceremonial law? He wants us to know that that's the standard,
Right.
but to confess, I really can't do it. Not the way it should be done, not like Jesus did, but thank you that you put Christ in my heart. I'll trust him. I've got to trust him. I cannot not lie. There are times when I feel like I have to tell something that's a lie to protect something. It just goes on and on. But here's the whole point. Yes, we should keep his commandments, but it's not us that provides the motive, the energy, or the wherewithal to do it. We must learn the just shall walk by faith. We walk by faith and not by sight. So we have to grow, in a sense, to the point where we say, God, I confess, I got a bad attitude. I keep trying to stop the bad. I can't stop it. Please help, have mercy. Man, that's the whole scope of the Psalms. David's crying out, God, have mercy on me. I'm trying to be a nice guy, but I'm having a hard time doing it. Okay, 2 really great things, but we're close to the end. Let's just look at 2 other guys that are not here in Ecclesiastes. So Job, just one little thought. Job 42, verses 5 and 6. Job goes through real trouble. He's in the hands of Satan. After Satan gets done working on him, Now he's in the hands of his three friends that beat him up every time they get together with him. They really take him to the wall. And then he ends up in God's hands. So in the end, verse 5, chapter 42, I had heard of you by the hearing of the ear, but now my eye sees you. What does that mean? This is his summary of having gone through real hell, if you accept that. His conclusion is, look, I've heard a lot about you, but now I see you with my eye. What do you think he's saying?
I think he really understands who God is in a much deeper way than he ever did before, in a much more personal way. Because God goes through all the things that he did. You know, can you do this? Did you do that? Whatnot. And I think Job finally sees the awesomeness, the totality of who, well, not the totality, because nobody can see that, but he just sees and understands him in a way that he never really did before.
Absolutely. So it's interesting that we're looking at Ecclesiastes, written by Solomon. Now we're looking at Job. And Solomon's the guy that uses this triad of words, knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. Job could say, God, I knew all kinds of things about you. I did my best to keep the law with my kids. We had feast days to honor you. I did this, I did that. I knew a lot about you, Lord. I knew that you were the creator. You probably had access to the Pentateuch. I knew you were the creator. And these are wonderful thoughts. But now I move beyond knowledge to understanding. Now I understand. I can't keep the commandments. Wisdom tells me that no good thing comes out of man. It only comes from God. So I think what he's saying is, I have really matured on this thing. I used to have head knowledge. Now my heart throbs with a desire to please you because I understand. You gave the law to condemn me. You gave the law to convince me that I was a sinner. And then to show me that in your loving wisdom, you kept the law for me. So that's one thing. But here's what my takeaway is. I heard you by the hearing of the ear. I think most evangelical Christians are pretty well versed in scriptures. But how many of us that are evangelical Christians really experience him? I know we should pray before dinner. Kids, let's pray. You know, we know what we're supposed to do. But how many really have a warm sense in the heart, not just the head, in the heart of love for God? I think what happened, he moved from knowledge to experience. That's where God wants to move us. Got to have the knowledge. It's necessary, but it's not sufficient. That's necessary, but it's not sufficient. We need understanding that leads to wisdom. That we live by faith. Yeah, exactly. But then he goes on to say, therefore I despise myself. This is not self-loathing.
No.
I think what he's saying is, now I see how wicked my old nature is. There's no good in me. You said there was no good in me. Now I see it.
Now I see it.
God, thank you for the cross. Thank you that you put to death the old nature. I think that's where he's going. Okay, one last thing. Habakkuk.
Habakkuk.
Yeah.
We should study Habakkuk sometime.
Okay, Habakkuk chapter 1. God's saying, Habakkuk, tell you what I'm going to do. I'm bringing an enemy. He's going to destroy Judah. He's going to come in and kill all the people. He's going to take away all the things in the temple. Destruction and violence.
strife and contention are going to rule. And Habakkuk says in verse 2, chapter 1, O Lord, how long shall I cry for help and you will not hear? Or cry to you violence and you will not save? Habakkuk complains. How can you do that to your chosen people? And look at verse 12. Are you not from everlasting, O Lord my God, my Holy One? We shall not die. You came to give us life. O Lord, you have ordained them as a judgment, and you, O Rock, have established them for reproof. And here's the verse. He says, God, you are of purer eyes than to see evil and cannot look at wrong. Why do you idly look at traitors and remain silent when the wicked swallows up a man more righteous than he? 2 complaints. He is really beat down. Chapter 3. Verse 17. Though the fig leaf should not blossom, nor the fruit be on the vines, the produce of the olive fail, the fields yield no food, the flock be cut off from the fold, and there be no herd in the stalls, yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will take joy in the God of my salvation. God, the Lord, is my strength. He makes my feet like the deer's feet. He makes me to tread on my high places. Here's another guy. We've got Solomon going through life experiences and concludes that we need to obey God and fear him. We have Job who says, hey, I knew you with my head. Now I'm really experiencing you in my heart. And now I see that the very thing that's my greatest enemy is myself, and you've crucified it. Both those guys have a good end. But now Habakkuk is really disturbed. God, how can you do this to your chosen people? You made promises to us. How could you possibly put us to death? Why would you let our enemies come in here and destroy everything you built up? I don't understand. But in the end, he says, Lord, now I see. Doesn't make any difference what we lose, what's taken away from us. You're my strength. You're the one that makes my feet walk in high places with you. All 3 of these men have talked earnestly, honestly, and openly about their feelings about what's going on in the world now. They're defining it. We are distracted. We are disturbed. There's just total dissatisfaction. And God, you're the one who's causing the problem. And God smiles and says, well, thank you for sharing your heart with me. But let me move into your heart. You know about me. Now, why don't you connect with me? Because when you connect with me at the experiential level, now you have wisdom. The fogginess will go away. Truth and reality will come to light. And as you choose me, you're going to come alive. And you'll end up thanking me for all this bad stuff that you're attributing to me. And by the way, I'm sovereign, so I've allowed it. But it's because I love you. All 3 of these guys made that connection. Let's have a prayer. Father, thank you for our time. Thank you for Solomon. Now I realize that his words were inspired. They weren't just his words. But you used a man who was willing to testify to his own experiences, which are enlightening for us. So we do thank you. But we thank you for your message. Every generation's the same. We need to be emptied of self and filled with Christ. You said, be ye filled with God. God, fill us with yourself. Thank you in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Well, we have a few minutes left. Why don't we have some prayer? Jenny, can you turn that